Infamous is our attempt to try and give players the experience that you've read about of kind of superhero adventures, but to have that experience yourself, to kind of go through an unfolding mystery and kind of learn about your powers, discover how they work, understand the repercussions of using them maybe wantonly, that there's some responsibility that comes with the powers. It's really to give you that experience that you've heard about in linear media. You know, you've heard about it when you watch Spider-Man or you read the comics. And we want to give you that experience kind of first person. We want you to experience those moments, that what it feels like for the city to turn against you and what it feels like to be a hero. And all of that at its core is what we wanted to achieve with Infamous. The game stars and features this guy, Cole McGrath, and he and his buddy Zeke, before the blast that sort of creates the series of events that give him powers, he's a bike messenger. His buddy Zeke's a bike messenger. You know, the kind of college dropout kind of guys. And it's really about these very real people sort of experiencing something extraordinary. And so he's kind of coming to terms with that. It affects his relationship with his girlfriend. He meets a lot of people who maybe try and help him, but maybe they're not what they seem. So the initial blast that happens at the very start of the game is some kind of unclear what it is electrical incident, and it brings out in Cole electrical powers, and he can kind of conduct and distribute electricity very forcefully. So he can draw electricity out of a power grid, he can draw it out of a car, and then he can project it forward as offensive weaponry. He can use it for good by healing people like a defibrillator. And so he's really all about that sort of mastery of electricity, and all of his powers, whether it's, you know, kind of electrokinetic blasts or even reading people's bioelectric signatures, you know, kind of figuring out what happened to them right before they died. Everything revolves around his mastery of electricity. So the power set certainly grows, and it grows on multiple axes. The first is it grows just in the player's experience and learning, hey, there's some pleasant or unpleasant side effects of these powers that I can use to my advantage. Then it grows quite literally as he learns and masters new abilities. So he can maybe concentrate electricity and throw it sort of like a grenade. He can learn to use electricity, like I said earlier, sort of telekinetically and using it to forcefully move things that conduct electricity. And so you're developing those, and then on top of that, the powers to some extent reflect how you're playing the game, and we'll go into more details with that later. So there's a lot of kind of depth and detail on the powers, and I think that's very much, you know, part of what we're trying to achieve with the game, is giving the player that experience of growing these powers and letting them reflect how and why you're using them. So what we would call the macro for how Cole develops significant advances in his powers is part of the narrative of the game. And so those powers are arrived at certain key points, and those happen to be big electrical events. And so you can seek those out and develop yourself. It's not an XP-based model for learning new powers. It's about progressing through the story. At certain points, there are opportunities to have these events happen, and that will help you learn new powers. You might stumble upon a bunch of pedestrians that have been herded up by a gang, and they're being sort of kind of taken away as an abduction. What are you going to do about that? Are you going to throw a grenade into it and kill them all? Are you going to try and snipe the enemies? What are you going to do? And that'll affect how that district of the city reacts to you, and it may give you some experience that relates to other things. And so, you know, I see it as this kind of ecology along with a narrative that you're playing through. There's this huge diversity of things that are available and take place in the city that are there for you to kind of go with or omit, depending on how you like to play the game. Infamous hits the stores this spring.